In 606 BC, Crown Prince Nebuchadnezzar of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, along with the king of the Medes, start to attack the remnants of the Neo-Assyrian Empire and the Egyptian Empire at Karkishim in 605 BC on the modern-day Syrian-Turkish border. The armies of Necho II and possibly Ashur-uballit II are destroyed. Necho returns with what is left of his army. As Necho II retreats, Crown Prince Nebuchadnezzar rushes back to Babylon after learning his father has died. After securing the throne, he marches back east and besieges Jerusalem to remove the Egyptian garrison there. As Nebuchadnezzar returns, the prophet Jeremiah tells his friend Baruch to write down everything that the Eternal One ever said to him. This scroll contains all the calamities that will befall the kingdom. In 604 BC, Jehoiakim changes his loyalty from Egypt to Babylon to save the city, but in particular, his own life. The Egyptian garrison is removed. Nebuchadnezzar II takes the sons of the nobles of Judah in order to assimilate them into Babylonian culture and government. Among these teenagers are Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. As the teenagers arrive in the city of Babylon, they are given names which honor the Babylonian idols. From that moment to the end of their lives, they were Daniel, became Belshazzar. Hananiah was to be addressed as and respond to Sudor Aku, which means command of Aku. Mishael was to be addressed as and respond to Meshach Aku, who is as Aku is. And Azariah was to be addressed as and respond to Abudu Nabu, slave of Nabu. In due time, they are encouraged to sit down to eat with the other teenage boys. Belshazzar, which means servant of Bel or prince of Bel, a variation of Baal, sees that the meat placed before them is non-kosher, and the kosher meat that is placed before them was most likely sacrificed to an idol. Belshazzar requests that he and his fellow Judean teens be given vegetables to eat and water to drink for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, they would be inspected. If they were not better, then they would eat the pagan portions. The test resulted in them being allowed to eat a vegetarian diet. Furthermore, the four became esteemed sages in education and wisdom, with Belshazzar being given a double portion in divination. These four were favored by the Shaul, or King Nebuchadnezzar. In 604 BC, Nebuchadnezzar II becomes so troubled by a series of dreams he had that he couldn't sleep. To solve this, he ordered the magicians, exorcists, sorcerers, and astrologers to be summoned to interpret the dreams. They request him to relate the dreams so that they can use their occult practices to allegedly come to a solution. However, Nebuchadnezzar demands them to tell him the dream and its interpretation or face death. As they fail to tell him, he says, I see you're only trying to gain time because you see that I've decided that if you don't tell me the dream, there's only one sentence passed on all of you. So you conspire to mislead me with lies in the hope that time will change things. Now just tell me the dream. That will convince me that you will also be able to give me its correct interpretation. As none of them can offer a solution, and they state that only the idols could tell him such. He orders all sages in the city to be executed. As Belshazzar hears the decree, he asks the captain of the royal guard to ascertain the purpose of the decree. He requests time to tell the king the interpretation. After divulging the matter to his fellow sages, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they all pray for his guidance and mercy. That night, Daniel, or Belshazzar, has a dream that reveals the dream and its interpretation. In glorification and worship, he says, "Blessed be the name of the Lord from eternity past to eternity future. For wisdom and power are his alone. And he brings the changes to seasons and times. He installs and disposes kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those with discernment. He reveals deep and secret things. He knows what lies in darkness, and light dwells with him. I thank and praise you, Adonai, of my ancestors, for giving me wisdom and power and revealing to me what we wanted from you, for giving us the answer for the king." Belshazzar asked the captain to bring him to the Sharu. Upon his appearance, Nebuchadnezzar asked him, "Can you tell me what I dreamt and what it means?" Like Yosef ben Yaakov, he says, "He couldn't, but the divine could and did." Nebuchadnezzar, in horror, exclaims, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He sent his angel to deliver his servants who trusted in him. They defied the royal order to the point of being willing to give up their bodies in order not to serve or worship any god but their own God. Therefore, I herewith decree that anyone, no matter from which nation or language, who says anything to insult the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is to be torn limb from limb, and his house is to be reduced to rubble, because there is no other God who can save like this." Soon Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are given a higher rank in the province of Babylon. Following this, the following letter is sent out from Nebuchadnezzar, Shaul, to all the nations and languages living throughout the earth. Abundant peace. I am pleased to recount the signs and wonders which the Most High God has done for me. How great are his signs, how powerful his wonders. His kingdom lasts forever, and he rules all generations. The Sharu had been thinking about what would take place in future generations and centuries. While the Sharu slept, he dreamed of a multi-generational vision consisting of a statue that was very shiny and very massive. The appearance of that terrified him, not because of the size, but because of the composition and the oddity of its existence. The head of the statue was of fine gold, its chest and arms of silver, its trunk and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, and its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. As he watched, a stone separated itself without any human hand, struck the statue on its feet made of iron and clay, and broke them in pieces. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were all broken into pieces, which became like the shaft of a threshing floor in summer. The wind blew them away without leaving a trace, but the stone which had struck the statue grew into a huge mountain that filled the whole. The golden head was symbolic of his kingdom, with its strength and grandeur. There would come another kingdom that would succeed the Neo-Babylonian Empire, but not have the same greatness. Just as silver is stronger than gold, yet not as grand, the second kingdom would not be as grand. Just as the shoulders are wider than the head, so would this kingdom stretch further than the Neo-Babylonian Empire under Nebuchadnezzar II. That kingdom will be conquered by a more powerful kingdom. Just as bronze is stronger than silver, yet not as grand, this third kingdom would be as grand as the second, would not be as grand as the second. Just as the belly and hips cover more area than the chest and shoulders, so would this kingdom stretch further than the second one did. It would stretch over the known world according to the Babylonians. The third kingdom would be conquered by a fourth kingdom. Just as iron is stronger than bronze, yet not as grand, this fourth kingdom would not be as grand as the third. Just as the legs cover more area than the belly and hips, so would this kingdom stretch further than the third one did. Just as iron can crush anything, this kingdom would break the other kingdoms into pieces and crush them. However, the fourth kingdom would be divided. The fifth kingdom, which would be divided just as the legs were, would have the firmness of the fourth, but yet also be weak and fragile. As for the 10 toes having the same strength and fragile nature of the feet, yet are independent, it has been speculated that such are 10 kingdoms that would arise. However, as the feet are not a large area of the body, this fifth kingdom and its resulting kingdoms will not last long. However, for the stone that struck the statue and grew into a mountain, there will be a kingdom that will arise to destroy all those kingdoms and will become like an eternal mountain. This means the sixth kingdom will be an eternal kingdom on a new earth. The revelation results in Shaul Nebuchadnezzar saying, "Your God is indeed the God of gods, the Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets. Since you have been able to reveal this secret, the elevation of Belshazzar to the provincial governor of Babylon, and the establishment of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the provincial governments of Babylon resulted from this. Soon after, teams of carpenters and mound builders descended upon the Dura plain, a plain between Uruk and Babylon. They build up a mound larger than 2,116 square feet and higher than 20 feet high. Upon this, the carpenters constructed a wooden statue 90 feet high and 9 feet wide at the breast, overlaid in gold. The various officials and all the provincial officials assemble for the dedication of an idol made for the self-glorification of Nebuchadnezzar. It is proclaimed by a herald that everyone is ordered to, when they hear the sound of the horn, the pipe, the harp, the cithara, the lute, the bagpipe, and the rest of the musical instruments, they are to fall down and worship the gold statue that the king has set up. Whoever does not worship was to be thrown immediately into a blazing hot kiln. Nearby, a brick kiln stood. Normal kilns in Babylon were normally heated to a very high temperature. Upon the sounds of the musical instruments, the multitudes bow and worship the gold statue that Nebuchadnezzar set up, except for 3. It is possible that Belshazzar was most likely away on leave, tending some business in a far-off province, while his friends and fellow sages, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, were in attendance, as the order was for all the officials to be present. In the crowd, some of the Babylonians see that these 3 teenagers around the age of 18 aren't bowing. They inform Nebuchadnezzar, and orders are sent to bring the sages to the king. He confronts them, and they answer very firmly out of their fear and devotion to the Lord. "Your question doesn't require an answer for us, Your Majesty. If our God, whom we serve, is able to save us, He will save us from the blazing hot furnace and from your power. But even if he doesn't, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will neither serve your gods nor worship the gold statue which you have set up. Nebuchadnezzar has the kiln increased to over 1800 degrees Fahrenheit and orders that the stages be thrown into it. According to tradition, Abednego lifts up a prayer while they walk to the kiln. As he blesses the King of the universe, he thanks him for the true judgment. O Jerusalem, or Jerusalem, the holy city of their ancestors. He confessed to their ancestors' sins and that the exile was well deserved. He then pleads that the covenant will not be annulled, nor the mercy withdrawn for the sake and memory of Abraham. He admits that they have no righteous leader nor the sacrifice of Torah. He appeals with a collective contrite heart and a humble spirit that their martyrdom might be acceptable as if it were a burnt offering as they seek his presence, while asking that he deliver them. His name is to be praised either way. Furthermore, he asks that their enemies be humbled and ashamed, showing that the King of the universe is master of all. As the hymns belch out of the mouth of the kiln, Nebuchadnezzar is halted in his stride away from the kiln. As he stared into the flames as far as he could see, Nebuchadnezzar asked a question, most likely stuttering, saying it. Didn't we throw 3 men bound into the flames? The court and officials, confused at his question, agree with such. As the royal and noble crowd gawks, they hear the sages continuing their hymn, demanding that nature, namely night, day, light, darkness, which most likely are shadows, mountains, hills, seas, rivers, springs, and all that grows in the ground, to glorify the Lord. Through the heat and smoke, the king sees a being that is, according to him, like one of the idols. What he sees is a man wearing a pure white robe down to his feet, a gold around the area of his navel. Fiery eyes are set in a face framed by long white hair and a thick white beard protruding from the cheeks and chin. The person seems to emit an aurora of brilliant light that shows very little details other than the aforementioned details. As the flames dance, they hear the sages demanding that all marine and terrestrial animals bless their Maker. Yet, more importantly, they demand that all Israel, from the priests and the temple workers to the farmers in the field, worship him. Addressing the souls in paradise, the sages tell them to sing praise to him and highly exalt the Eternal One forever. As the royal officials do not see the being that Nebuchadnezzar sees, they say nothing. Probably because at the time they were thinking he may have been a little insane, and see the statement as proof that the king is not of sound mind. Upon reaching the edge of the kiln at a safe distance, the Saru, or king, ordered the sages to come out as they sing, "Bless the Lord, Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. Sing praises to him and highly exalt him forever, for he has rescued us from Hades and saved us from the power of death and delivered us from the midst of the burning fiery furnace. From the midst of the fire he has delivered us. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endures forever. All who worship the Lord, bless the God of gods. Sing praises to him and give him thanks, for his mercy endures forever. They are inspected. There is no sign of burns or smoke on them." Nebuchadnezzar, in horror, exclaims, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He sent his angel to deliver his servants who trusted in him. They defied the royal order to the point of being willing to give up their bodies in order not to serve or worship any god but their own God. Therefore, I herewith decree that anyone, no matter from which nation or language, who says anything to insult the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is to be torn limb from limb, and his house is to be reduced to rubble, because there is no other God who can save like this." Soon Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are given a higher rank in the province of Babylon. Following this, the following letter is sent out from Nebuchadnezzar, Shaul, to all the nations and languages living throughout the earth. Abundant peace. I am pleased to recount the signs and wonders which the Most High God has done for me. How great are his sons, how powerful his wonders. His kingdom lasts forever, and he rules all generations.